Life is neutral, and nothing has any meaning until we give it one. So how do we use that information to create a life of our own ultimate joy and peace? Hang out and I'm going to tell you. Hi, I'm Joanne Moore from Expanding Joy, and I merge the magic of spirituality with the practicality of living a human life. And today we're talking all about how to find peace and joy while using the concept that nothing has any meaning until we give it one. So it's, as always, take what fits or feels right for you and discard the rest. But this idea or concept I've had for a very long time. It has come through in many different ways. And if you hang out to the end, I'm going to give you 5 of my best meanings that I've attached that have really helped me find more peace, more happiness, more joy, and a lot less stress in my own life. So let's start out. So the meaning we attach, let's start at the beginning. If nothing has any meaning, the only thing that truly exists is what a camera or video camera would capture. That's it. Everything beyond he walked here, she talked, they talked, things like that, all the meaning to it is attached by each one of us individually. So the meanings we attach all come from our past. It could be memories of events. It could be things that happened in our lives. It could be information that you read or saw or listening to other people's conversations and their perceptions from their memories from their life. So we gather all this information up. That becomes the filter through which we see everything. It's also the means we attach to the meanings. So if an event happens, let's see, like flying. So some people love to fly. They are thrilled. They're excited. It means freedom. It means whatever. Other people attach the meaning of terror to flying, to getting on an airplane. It scares them. It's awful. They feel sick. Two completely different meanings for the same event, for the same airplane, for the same trip. So we all have a different lens that we filter through, that we give meanings with. And as humans, we are judging, meaning-making machines. So there's almost nothing that comes into our awareness that we don't add a meaning to and then judge the meaning that we just attach to it. So really, we're not even judging. Oh, that just came through. We're not even really judging other people or circumstances. We're actually judging the meaning that we've attached to it. Oh, that gets interesting. That kind of goes down the rabbit hole, doesn't it? Okay, so we can make up all these different things. So how can we take the information, the knowing, the understanding of this idea or concept, and how does it help us gain peace? Well, if we're making it up anyways, then we can just make up a version that empowers us rather than hindering us. Do you know what I mean? So maybe, and since everything is neutral and it's all made up anyways, then we can make up one that feels better. Let's try some examples. So my grandmother, actually, this is great. So I had a client quite a while ago, but she had this idea of her grandmother. Her grandmother passed away, and she still felt this. She said, every time I think of my grandmother, I feel very unloved. I didn't have this like loving emotional relationship with my grandmother. And, I want to get over it. I want to move on. I want to have a different relationship with her, even though she's gone. Great. So I said, well, isn't that interesting? Because in the reading, I said, what comes through is that your grandmother loved you a lot and that she really wanted you to succeed in life. And that my client kind of looked at me funny. And I said, didn't you have dinners with her all the time? And she's like, yes, they were awful. she was always instilling manners and rules and all this, like sit up straight and like all the table manners and everything. And the interesting thing that came through for me in the reading was that her grandmother, that was her way of showing love, because she wanted her grandchildren to succeed. She wanted her grandchildren to have the basics, the foundation of having a good life. And in her view, that was having good manners, being able to interact with adults, having etiquette, things like that. So really, her grandmother was like passing all this information on in a way that for her was, I love you. For my client, as a child, it didn't come across that way. But as an adult, she now had a new perspective or lens to look through those dinners in the past, or those meals, and look at her interactions with her grandmother in a different way. Also, what came through was that her grandmother never had a model for emotions. So her parents didn't model demonstrative love. They didn't, hug or kiss or things like that. So she didn't have, like, that was just normal for her. She didn't know any other way. So that's what she continued doing. And at the end of the session, it was amazing because my client was so thankful for this completely new way of seeing her grandmother that it shifted her relationship with her grandmother, even though her grandmother had passed. So just having a different perspective can bring you so much peace, so much like ahas, so much more, just a different way of experiencing it. Now she knew that her grandmother loved her. She had this completely different experience. Even though it had passed, she still shifted all of her past. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so and then some people, so the question I get a lot is, I'll tell you, one of them is, but some things are true. When so many people agree, how can it not be true? Well, we've simply agreed to agree. The judgments and choices are then passed down from generation to generation to generation, much without the thought of whether this idea or meaning that has been attached is helping people or hindering people. So is it making you feel good or is it making you feel bad? And at one time, most of the earth agreed that it was flat. That was an agreement. It was like mankind thought the world was flat. And then someone decided to challenge that. And today, we all agree that the earth is round. So there are ideas and perceptions that we agree on as a society, as a community, as a family, as a group of friends, but it doesn't make them real or not real. It's simply the agreed upon meaning, right? Often in society, these agreed upon meanings are then put into laws or ways of working in a group of people or a society, right? So that completely get that. So in some cultures, it is agreed that children should listen to their parents and pay heed to what their elders say. So this, even today, so this is a current belief. So this is like the meaning that they attach, that if you don't listen to your elders, you're being disrespectful or you're being like, it's just the agreed upon culture that children, no matter how old you are, even if you're 50, that you still listen to your parents and do what your parents say. In other societies or communities, it is agreed that you should follow your own bliss and no one, even your parents, can know what is best for you. That is a different belief system. So a belief is just a meaning that we keep attaching, right? So it's just a thought we keep thinking. So it's just a meaning that we have agreed to attach to a certain circumstance or idea. So humans are judging machines. We're constantly giving meaning to everything, and we want to know where it fits in our life, how we should feel about it, and then judging either the circumstance or the people involved in it. And we just talked about this, that really we're judging the meaning we've attached to it, not the actual people. Though we tend to act as if we're judging the people rather than the meaning we've attached to it. That's really interesting. That's like Yeah, that's like a fine point there, isn't it? Like that's taking it one step further. I love that. I love it when I'm talking like this and, spirit kind of just downloads a little bit more. So, how can we use this information to find peace and joy? That is the big question. That's what we want to know. So, first thing we do is we notice how we give meaning to everything. So, just simply notice there's nothing to do yet. Just take note of, like, somebody was late for dinner, so this is the meaning I've attached to it. My mother said this, so this is the meaning I've attached to it. Things like that. So first step is to simply notice where you've attached meaning and just kind of bring it into your awareness, because really the biggest power is in being aware, always. Second thing to do is notice how you feel when you assign the meanings. Notice how you feel when you assign meanings to things. So, my boyfriend was late and he didn't call ahead of time to tell me. What meaning have I attached to it? Obviously, he's not being respectful of me. He doesn't take my time seriously. He doesn't take our relationship seriously, whatever it is. Or something completely different. I'm so sorry that he's overwhelmed. I feel really bad for him. He must be like late at work. Whatever meaning you have attached to the video camera version of what happened. Then notice how you feel. So if your meaning was, if you attach the meaning, he's being disrespectful and he doesn't, he's not being kind to me or whatever, then you might feel awful. Like you might not feel good. Maybe if you attach the meaning that he's really overwhelmed at work and I feel, I feel bad. So maybe there's some compassion there. Maybe there's some like irritation that has happened more than once. Just notice how you feel to that meaning that you've attached. There's still nothing to do about it. Just take like a week or so to just kind of notice these things. Bring them into your awareness. Number 3. So try on a new meaning. This is where it gets interesting and fun. So try on a new meaning. So an example would be when my aunt nitpicks about my appearance, she really is telling me that she loves me and she doesn't have the tools to say it any other way. So she doesn't know quite how to interact with me. Maybe we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. Maybe our politics are different, or maybe our views on life are different. So she's just bringing up something that she can possibly bring up. It feels to me like nitpicking. I've attached that nitpicking meaning to it rather than my aunt is telling me, what she thinks of my outfit. So how can I say it in another way? So attach a new meaning to it. How about the guy who yelled out his car window when I walked too slowly across the street, happened to me just the other day, was simply overwhelmed and isn't able to regulate his emotions well. So again, maybe he didn't have a model for somebody who could regulate emotions. Maybe he does not have that. That is not in his wheelhouse. That is not a tool in his toolkit. And maybe his day has just been overwhelming and he's just like frustrated and, fed up to there. Rather than attach the meaning, he's an ass, which is, kind of our go-to, or how rude of him or whatever. So find a new meaning that feels better. Let's see, one more example. My partner broke up with me because they could feel the disconnect before I did, and they're worried it will turn out like their past relationship. So my partner broke up with me, but in reality, he could just, or she could just feel the disconnect between us before I felt it. Now that's that's a very different meaning than they broke up with me, I'm no good, they're really picky, like we were never going to make it anyways, whatever. I'm heartbroken, I'll never find love again, whatever, wherever we go in those situations. So give it a meaning that actually feels more empowering to you. So the other question I get a lot when I bring up this topic is it true? Like, okay, I made up this new meaning, but maybe they really dumped me because they don't like me. Well, everything is made up. Is any of it true? Because they're looking through their past history and attaching a meaning to it as well. So none of it is actually true with a capital T. And we all have a unique history. We're all looking at things through a different lens. So no two humans were going to see anything exactly the same. Our communities and societies, we all have some agreements, but each person is going to hold a different view and have different emotions attached to that point of view. So just, if it's all made up, make up one that works for you rather than one that doesn't. So another question that I get is, what if the meaning I give something doesn't match up to what others have attached to it? I got this one a lot, actually. Like the fear of being ostracized for having a different point of view. Well, it's your meaning. Only share as much as you want to. And yes, others may accuse you of being too optimistic or Pollyanna, as they say, but really, if it adds to your peace of mind and your joy to life, then who cares what they think? Like, what's more important, their point of view or your peace of mind? Really? When you share a different perspective, and this happens a lot, you might be surprised by how liberating someone else is, how it liberates someone else. So if you share your point of view, just like I did in that reading, now she was asking for my point of view. Well, she was asking for a reading. So her spirit team is the one who gave me the information, which is part of, why this has been coming up for years and years. But it's often so liberating for somebody else. Like, I never thought about it that way. I never saw it from that point of view. You know what? You're right. Maybe I'm just making this all up in my head. We tend to get on that gerbil wheel in our head that goes 100 miles an hour, and we need something to stop it. This is a new way of stopping that. So now the freedom comes from the interpretation of how or why what happened. Why did they mistreat me? Am I not worthy? All of this kind of stuff. So just give one that works, because I'm not worthy is not an empowering meaning. So think of another one that is. Maybe the universe wants me to get out of this relationship before it gets any worse. That's a better meaning. Then it's not even personal to the other person. It's more like it comes back to you again. Okay, so now we're near the end. So I'm going to give you 5 examples of how I use this personally in my life and how it has brought so much more peace of mind. And really, I tend not to get stuck in the gerbil wheel as often, and I can catch myself faster and get out of it. And I can have a lot more humor because I notice the meaning that I've attached to something and how kind of ridiculous it actually is. Okay, so number 1 is the universe is always on my side. That is a belief or a meaning that I attach to a ton of stuff. The universe is always on my side, even if it doesn't look like that at first. Even if I'm like, but I didn't have quite enough to pay my bills this month. I still know the universe is on my side. I'm still going to attach the meaning, the universe is on my side. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, meanings that I attach to things. There is only love or the call for love. That's it. There is either love or fear. Those 2 things, and that's it. So I put them into one category or another. The man who yelled out the window, I put him in the category of calling for love. That man needed love more than I did that day. So I can easily separate it into appreciation immediately for the things that are occurring that feel like love immediately. And for the things that don't feel like love immediately, I'm like, that's where love is needed the most. Right? So that is one meaning that I have attached to a lot of things, and it really feels so much better. Number 3, when I see or experience someone acting in a way that upsets me, I notice how I feel, see where I could have a different approach and do better than they are currently doing. Like, you know what? I wouldn't. So I have a belief that we wouldn't notice something if we didn't have that somewhere in our radar. right? So if I notice somebody being really sarcastic or really mean to a waiter or a bartender or something like that, I notice their behavior. One, I noticed it, so the universe is always on my side. So here's an opportunity to send love to somebody who needs some, because they obviously do. And then, okay, so how can I do better? Like, I'm seeing this example that is not the most loving. Great. So where can I do better? To remind myself to look in the mirror, to remind myself that, okay, this is being brought to my attention because there is somewhere that I have been acting or being unloving, and I could use a little bit extra expression of love. Number 4, it is rarely, if ever, personal. It's not about you most of the, like 99.9% of the time, it's not about you anyways. So everyone is looking through the filter of their past. It is the situation that is triggering them, not the people. So me walking slowly across the crosswalk wasn't about me. It was about the man. It was, possibly about the man having an overwhelming day and he was in a hurry. It could have been about the fact that he's worried about his mother, who also walks slowly across crosswalks. And that's like triggering his upset because his mother is in care. Who knows? But it's almost never about you. It's about something, the situation is being triggered, not the people. And when we get upset ourselves, it's rarely about that person and more about the situation or a circumstance that brings up past memories. Okay, number 5, meaning that I attach to a ton of stuff, almost everything, is everyone is doing the very best they can with the tools they have and the level of consciousness they're at in the moment. And I hear it all the time. People say, yeah, but they're an adult. They should know better. Well, what if you don't? Like, what if you have never had a model that knows that? What if you are busy surviving in the world or are taking care of your young children or your aging parents? Maybe you have a job that's super demanding and stressful. So you're not out searching for spiritual tools. Not everybody is. Some people are in survival. And if you're in survival, then you're doing the very best you can with the tools and level of consciousness you have at the moment. Are they available? Yes. And thank you for watching. And I'm not going to judge them for not having found them yet, because I got to be honest, I didn't start this journey until my late 30s. So I wasn't exactly, 18 and enlightened. I did not even start on my spiritual path as an adult until my late 30s. So we all start at our own time. I had a client recently in her late 80s, and I thought, like, what am I going to be able to tell her in a session? And yet she was like so excited to be starting her journey. She was like, I don't know, I came across a video and I watched it, and then it just went down the rabbit hole, and here I am suddenly on a spiritual path. So it's never too late. We all come in our own right time, and we're all doing the very best we can with the tools we have and the level of consciousness we're at in the moment. Okay, so that has been my video for today. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this on ideas for spirituality and practicality. Thanks, y'all, and have a fantastic day.